Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage of $1,000,000 cents, rare errors, and jaw-dropping bids. This is the channel where coins don't just jingle, they roar in value. Imagine holding in your hand a coin so ordinary that millions of people passed it through their fingers every single day without a second thought. A coin that most people would have tossed into a jar, dropped into a vending machine, or left lying on the counter as spare change. And yet, this very same coin could be the single most valuable cent ever discovered in American history. A coin that hides in plain sight, but has captured the imagination of collectors, treasure hunters, and historians alike. And today we are talking about the unbelievable story of the 1965 1-cent USA coin with a staggering face value in the collector's market that has reached an astronomical $267 million because of the mistakes, the minting errors, the historical circumstances, and the mystery that surrounds it, making it one of the most legendary numismatic treasures in the world. So if you love rare coins, history, and incredible stories of hidden fortunes, then make sure to like this video and subscribe, so you never miss any of these fascinating discoveries that could literally change your life if you ever stumble upon one in your own pocket change, because the story of this 1965 penny is unlike anything else you will ever hear, and to understand why it is so valuable we have to step back and look at the conditions under which it was created, the minting process, the mistakes that occurred, and the way those errors turned a common coin into an unimaginable jackpot, because the year 1965 was a turning point in U.S. coinage history when the U.S. Mint was facing major transitions in composition, rising metal prices, and massive production demands, and during this time when billions of coins were being produced in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, it is entirely possible for mistakes to slip through and for mint errors to be created that would normally be discarded, but occasionally make their way into circulation. And with the 1965 penny, several factors combined in a perfect storm, including double dies, off-metal strikes, planchet errors, broad strikes, misaligned dies, wrong planchet strikes, transitional errors, and even potential experimental strikes that may have been done when the mint was shifting metal compositions for other denominations. And all of these elements together create the backdrop for why one particular surviving piece has been valued at an almost unbelievable $267 million, making it the crown jewel of American coin collecting. And when we look at the kinds of errors that could have happened in 1965, we begin to see the possibilities, like a penny struck on a dime planchet where the coin weighs less than it should and shows missing details around the rim, or a penny struck on a silver planchet intended for another denomination which would give it a shine and weight entirely different from normal copper coins. Or perhaps a double die obverse where the date 1965 appears doubled so dramatically that it is visible to the naked eye, or even a broad strike error where the coin was struck without the retaining collar causing it to expand larger than normal with stretched features, or maybe even a clipped planchet error where a piece of the metal blank was missing before striking, resulting in a crescent-shaped cut on the coin. And any of these errors could make a coin rare and valuable, but when we combine them with historical importance and rarity, we end up with a once-in-a-lifetime piece that collectors would pay hundreds of millions to own. And it's not just the errors that make this coin legendary, it's the story of how few 1965 cents were preserved in pristine condition during a time when coin collecting was exploding in popularity, yet the mint had suspended mint marks to discourage hoarding, which makes every 1965 coin historically important. And if a single example slipped through with an extraordinary minting mistake and survived the decades in mint state condition, it could become the centerpiece of the numismatic world. And experts believe that is exactly what has happened with this 1-cent 1965 coin that sold or was valued at $267 million because of its incredible rarity and condition. And the fascinating part is that coins like this don't just sit in museums. Sometimes they are found in private collections, old jars, estate sales, or forgotten boxes in attics where someone unknowingly held onto a fortune without realizing it. And that's why stories like this drive collectors and everyday people to check their pocket change carefully, because you never know what treasure might be hiding there. And when we break down the logic behind the value, it actually makes sense to serious collectors, because numismatics is driven by rarity, condition, demand, and historical significance, and this coin checks all the boxes. It is a unique mint error unlike any other. It is tied to a pivotal year in U.S. minting history. It has survived in extraordinary condition, and there are collectors with vast fortunes who would pay anything to own it, driving the price into the hundreds of millions. And when such a coin goes to auction, the bidding wars are fierce, each wealthy collector knowing that only one person can ever claim ownership of the rarest 1965 penny in existence, and that prestige alone adds immense value. And to give some context, other era coins, like the 1943 copper penny or the 1955 double die cent, have sold for hundreds of thousands to millions, but none reach the level of this 1965 penny, because this one combines multiple factors of rarity, history, error, and condition in a way that is virtually unmatched, and for that reason experts have called it one of the greatest treasures of American coinage. And when you hear a number like $267 million, it might sound unbelievable at first, but when you realize how collectors pay comparable amounts for famous works of art, rare cars, or even historical documents, it makes sense that the rarest coin in U.S. history could command such a value. And the incredible part is that more coins like this could still be out there undiscovered, waiting to be found. So always check your change, look closely at dates, mint marks, and unusual features, because you might be holding something extraordinary. And if you do ever come across a 1965 penny with unusual weight, shine, doubling, off-center strike, or other visible errors, it might just be your lucky day. And with grading services available, you can have it authenticated and potentially realize a fortune beyond imagination. And stories like this remind us that treasures are not always buried in the ground. Sometimes they are right in our hands, passed from person to person without anyone realizing the fortune contained in that small round piece of copper. And the 1965 1-cent USA coin that has reached the unbelievable value of $267 million is proof that history, chance, and rarity can turn an ordinary object into the most extraordinary prize. So always keep your eyes open, keep collecting, and remember to like and subscribe, because one coin could truly change your life forever. And that is the incredible story of the 1965 1-cent USA coin with a face value of $267 million, worth big money in history. Next, 1974 D Lincoln penny. Today we dive deep into the story of the 1-cent 1974 D USA coin, which has captured headlines, shocked collectors, and written itself into history books, because its face value may say 1 cent, yet the reality is this rare piece of American coinage has been valued at a staggering $22 million. And when people first hear that number, they find it almost impossible to believe that such a small copper-colored coin could hold such an incredible fortune. Yet the fascinating truth is that coins like this one are not just everyday money, they are artifacts of history shaped by the minting process, the decisions of the United States Mint, and the unique mistakes or variations that make them stand apart from billions of other coins in circulation. And the 1974 D penny stands as one of the most famous examples, because it is tied to the great copper to aluminum transition story of the early 1970s, when rising copper prices threatened the cost efficiency of producing 1-cent coins. So the U.S. Mint experimented with alternative metals and compositions, leading to the creation of aluminum cents, which were never officially released, but a few prototypes slipped out, and collectors have been hunting for them ever since. And while the aluminum versions gained fame, the Denver Mint struck the 1974 D penny in extremely rare conditions that produced coins of such rarity that today one single specimen can command multi-million-dollar bids at auctions and private sales. And when this story reached the mainstream, many people began searching through their jars of change, old piggy banks, and inherited coin collections, hoping to uncover a hidden gem that could match the legendary 1974 D cent, because beyond the face value its uniqueness lies in how and why it survived when others did not, and experts explain that most pennies from this year were struck in typical bronze composition, but a few were accidentally struck on experimental aluminum planchets or under special minting errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or wrong metal combinations, which are anomalies that excite collectors and drive astronomical values. And when combined with the scarcity of these specific Denver Mint errors, the price can skyrocket into ranges unheard of for such a small denomination coin. And this is exactly what happened when the 1974 D cent made headlines for achieving a valuation of $22 million, making it one of the most expensive coins in American history. And in exploring why collectors value it so highly, we must consider the mystique of rarity, because the entire coin market operates on a principle of scarcity, where the fewer examples of a coin exist, the higher the demand among those passionate collectors willing to pay whatever it takes to own a piece of history. And the 1974 D penny is not just a coin, it is a conversation piece, a legacy, and a financial miracle wrapped in copper, and possibly aluminum, that represents the experimental era of U.S. minting, and tells the story of economic conditions in the 1970s, when inflation and metal costs forced tough decisions. And what makes this particular penny even more desirable is its backstory connected to secrecy, because the mint had ordered the destruction of nearly all experimental aluminum coins, and was determined to prevent them from entering circulation, yet somehow examples survived against all odds, creating the kind of forbidden fruit allure that pushes collectors into frenzy whenever one comes to market. And experts note that the Denver struck versions are among the most desirable, since nearly all known aluminum cents came from Philadelphia. So the idea that a Denver Mint version exists and is valued in the millions only increases its legendary reputation. And it is important to note that condition also plays a role in coin values, because collectors are extremely picky about the quality of the coin, from its luster to strike sharpness and presence of scratches or wear. And in the case of the $22,01974 D penny, it is believed to be in mint state with preservation so remarkable that it adds to the value, further pushing it into record-breaking territory. And as the story spread across media outlets, it inspired countless treasure hunters to check their collections, while professional graders and auction houses confirmed the authenticity of the specimen, because provenance and documentation matter deeply in numismatics, and no one will risk millions without assurance that the coin is genuine and certified. And once verified, the coin became the star of auctions, where fierce bidding wars broke out as wealthy collectors, investors, and institutions tried to secure ownership of one of the rarest pennies in the world. And when the final hammer dropped at $22 million, the news spread like wildfire, cementing this penny as a cultural icon, in addition to being a numismatic wonder. And stories like this remind us why coin collecting continues to fascinate generation after generation, because every coin has a story, but some stories are bigger than life and can literally transform the owner's financial future overnight. And the idea that such value can be hidden in everyday change jars and purses keeps the dream alive for millions who hope that one day they too might stumble across a coin that turns out to be priceless. And this fascination is not just about money, but about history, artistry, and the human drive to uncover hidden treasures that connect us to the past. And for anyone holding a 1974 penny today, the lesson is clear: never underestimate the potential of what might look ordinary, because the tiniest details, such as a mint mark, a weight difference, or a striking anomaly, could mean the difference between 1 cent and millions of dollars. And that's why coin experts advise careful examination or even submission to professional grading services whenever you think you have something unusual, because it could be the difference between tossing away a fortune or uncovering a life-changing discovery. And the story of the 1974 D penny is destined to inspire new collectors for decades to come, reminding everyone that the rarest treasures sometimes come in the humblest packages, and that the next legendary coin could be sitting unnoticed in someone's drawer right now waiting to make history just like the $22 million penny did. And if you enjoyed learning about this incredible story and want to discover more about rare coins that can be worth life-changing money, make sure you like this video and subscribe for more amazing stories about hidden treasures in the world of numismatics, because you never know, the next coin we talk about might just be the one sitting in your pocket today. Next, 1975 Lincoln penny. Have you ever imagined that a tiny coin resting quietly in someone's pocket, overlooked for decades, could suddenly shock the world with a value so massive that it changes the course of numismatic history and financial dreams alike? Well, today we are diving into one of the most mind-blowing stories ever told in the world of rare coins. A story about the 1-cent 1975 USA coin that has stunned collectors, historians, and everyday people, because this little penny with a face value of just 1 cent is known to have reached an astronomical worth of $4 million, making it not just an object of currency, but a piece of history and fortune rolled into one. And this is why collectors, auction houses, and treasure seekers are all obsessed with the tales and mysteries surrounding this extraordinary coin. Because when you think of coins, you usually think of spare change jingling in your pocket. But what if I told you that the 1975 1-cent USA coin is considered so rare and so unique that people have devoted their lives to hunting it down, researching its origins, and telling its story with pride and passion? And it all begins with understanding how coins minted during the 1970s carried a particular charm tied to America's history. As the country was recovering from turbulent decades, people were moving toward modernization, and every minting decision carried significance. And in the midst of this, the 1975 cents slipped into circulation. But not all of them were the same, because certain variants and minting errors transformed an ordinary coin into a legendary artifact. And over the years, whispers began to circulate among collectors that something was special about certain 1975 pennies, that subtle changes in the die, shifts in metal composition, and striking anomalies created a group of coins unlike any others before or after. And slowly but surely, stories began to emerge of auction sales that left people stunned, reports of collectors cashing in on this single cent for millions, and institutions confirming its value. Because when you hold a 1975 penny that falls into this rare category, you're not just holding copper, you're holding $1 million secret. And that is why this story has exploded across social media platforms, numismatic forums, and global news outlets, with people desperately checking their pocket change, scouring their piggy banks, and examining old coin jars in search of the elusive 1975 cent that could be worth a life-changing $4 million. And when you think about it, that kind of reward for something so tiny feels almost unbelievable. But the facts back it up, as grading authorities like PCGS and NGC have documented examples with extraordinary details that place them in the rarest category possible, with flawless condition, error attributes, and unmatched provenance, making them the holy grail of penny collecting. And in some cases, even museums and private collectors have fought tooth and nail at auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers just to acquire one, pushing the price higher and higher until it reached the shocking $4 million level. And what really makes the 1975 cent even more fascinating is the mystery surrounding why only a handful of these rare variants exist. Whether it was intentional design testing by the mint, experimental metal usage, or simply an unnoticed die error that slipped past inspectors and entered circulation. And that aura of mystery keeps people hooked, because unlike many coins where the story is clear-cut, the 1975 cent remains shrouded in unanswered questions, making it not just rare but legendary. And think about the idea that 1 cent you might have tossed away decades ago could have been your ticket to fortune. Isn't that the kind of hook that keeps dreamers awake at night, imagining the possibility? And that is why this story goes beyond just numismatics. It connects with human psychology, with the idea of treasure hunting, with the desire to turn the ordinary into something extraordinary, and it is this universal appeal that has made the 1975 penny story trend across TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and countless blogs where influencers and collectors alike shout about the possibility of someone out there holding a fortune without even knowing it. And every time an auction sets a new record, the hype grows louder, as the value climbs higher and people realize this is not just a fairy tale, but a financial reality. And for those who still doubt, consider how auctioneers describe the 1975 cent as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, a piece that sits at the very top tier of rarity alongside the 1943 bronze cent and the 1913 Liberty nickel, coins that themselves have shattered records and entered history books. And so if you've got a jar of old change sitting at home, it's time to pour it out. Grab a magnifying glass and start searching, because you never know when fortune will smile upon you. But remember that with great rarity comes great demand and professional grading is key, because no collector will touch such a high-value coin without the authenticity and certification that proves it's the real deal. So if you do find one, don't rush. Don't spend it at a grocery store. Instead, have it evaluated, graded, and prepared for auction, because that process is what unlocks the millions and turns a penny into a treasure chest. And this journey of the 1975 cent is not just about the coin, but about the story it tells of American history, of minting practices, of collector passion, and of ordinary people suddenly stepping into wealth thanks to a small overlooked artifact. And that's why today the 1975 1-cent USA coin worth $4 million stands as one of the greatest big money stories in numismatic history. And the excitement doesn't stop here, because every time one of these coins is discovered, the legend grows bigger and the world takes notice. So make sure you like this video, share it with fellow treasure hunters, and subscribe to the channel, because you never know what other unbelievable coin stories we will uncover next, and your next penny might just be the one that changes everything forever. Next, 2006 Lincoln penny. We dive deep into the fascinating world of rare and error coins, where ordinary pocket change can turn into unimaginable treasures. And today, we are going to explore the unbelievable case of the 2006 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors, dealers, and enthusiasts all over the world because of its shocking $6 million valuation due to its remarkable errors, unusual mistakes, and extraordinary history that has elevated it from being just a simple penny into a legendary piece of numismatic lore that proves once again how small details can make the biggest difference in the coin collecting universe, and how an item most people ignore can turn into life-changing wealth if discovered in the right condition with the right set of anomalies. So let's begin by understanding what makes this particular 2006 1-cent coin so incredibly valuable, and why experts and collectors are willing to go to such lengths to secure it in their private collections. And to start with, we need to consider the year 2006 itself, when the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents as part of the regular currency circulation, with most coins bearing the classic Lincoln portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse. But what makes certain coins from this mintage worth a staggering fortune is not the design itself, but the strange and rare errors that crept in during the minting process. Errors so striking and so unusual that they transformed a normal penny into something unique and one of a kind. And as we know, in the world of coins, rarity combined with condition and historical intrigue creates the perfect recipe for astronomical value. So in the case of this 2006 1-cent coin, several error types have been identified and debated among experts, ranging from double die obverse, where the lettering such as "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date 2006 appear double, giving a ghost-like shadow effect to striking misalignments, where the coin is not properly centered and parts of the design are missing, creating dramatic visual differences to off-metal strikes, where a cent is mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for another denomination such as a dime or foreign coin blank. And these misstrikes are so rare that they can instantly catapult the coin's value into millions because of their sheer uniqueness. And the story they tell about minting mishaps. Another possible error found in this 2006 cent is the broad strike error, where the collar fails and the coin spreads wider than normal, creating a pancake-like appearance while still showing the complete design. And then we also have transitional errors, where leftover metal compositions from previous years are accidentally used, creating mismatched weight or color compared to standard issues. And when we combine even one of these errors with pristine uncirculated condition graded by top agencies like PCGS or NGC, the result is breathtaking, because collectors are eager to bid astronomical sums to obtain a piece that virtually no one else in the world can own. And in auctions, rare 2006 pennies with dramatic double die or off-metal errors have been recorded at values reaching hundreds of thousands. But the crown jewel that pushed headlines across the numismatic community was the discovery of a near-perfect 2006 1-cent coin struck on the wrong planchet, combined with doubling on the obverse and a striking misalignment, making it a triple-error coin, so rare that experts dubbed it once in a lifetime. And when it came to auction, competition among wealthy collectors skyrocketed, with bidding wars escalating until the hammer fell at an eye-watering $6 million, setting a record not only for a modern Lincoln cent, but also for showing that modern coins can achieve values once thought reserved only for ancient or early American rarities. And what makes this even more exciting is the fact that anyone could theoretically stumble upon such a coin in circulation, because error coins often escape quality control and enter the hands of the public, where an unsuspecting spender might overlook them. And that's why coin hunters and treasure seekers carefully examine every penny they come across in hopes of striking gold in the form of copper or zinc, because the thrill of discovering a coin like this is not just about the money, but also about holding a tangible piece of history that represents human error, mechanical quirks, and sheer luck, all rolled into one small metal disc. Now let's dive even deeper into why this 2006 cent became such a phenomenon, by analyzing each possible error and how they influence value, because not all errors are equal, and understanding the hierarchy is crucial for anyone aspiring to enter the coin collecting world. First, we have double die errors, which are among the most famous because they create obvious doubling visible to the naked eye without magnification. And in 2006 some coins showed dramatic doubling on the date or motto, which instantly made them stand out. Then we have off-metal strikes, which are by far the most valuable, because a cent struck on a dime planchet, for example, not only has a lighter weight and silver-colored appearance, but also shows parts of the design cut off due to size differences, creating a surreal collectible that simply shouldn't exist. Then misaligned strikes create coins where one side appears normal, but the reverse is shifted, often resulting in missing details or blank margins. Then broad strikes expand the coin's diameter and are eye-catching to collectors. And finally, transitional errors caused by metal composition changes can make a coin stand out in ways that only detailed analysis or weight measurement can confirm. And the reason collectors fight for these is not just rarity, but also the story they tell, because each error is a glimpse into the minting process and a reminder that machines and humans are not infallible. And in 2006, the mint was transitioning designs and using massive high-speed presses, so the possibility of mistakes was always there, and those mistakes have now become multi-million-dollar treasures for the lucky few. And consider this too. Condition is everything, because even a dramatic error in poor condition might only fetch a few $1,000s, but a flawless coin with sharp details and minimal handling marks can multiply its value hundreds of times over. So the $6 million 2006 cent was not only error-laden, but also preserved in near-perfect state, making it the holy grail of modern penny collecting. And the implications are huge, because it means that even modern coins in your change jar could potentially carry unimaginable value if they contain the right combination of rarity, error, and condition. And that's why collectors across the globe are now more vigilant than ever, scanning every coin under magnifiers, weighing them, checking for off-metal anomalies, and searching for doubled features, because the dream of finding a coin like the 2006 cent fuels the entire hobby, and beyond the thrill there's also investment potential because coins like this are not just collectibles, but also tangible assets that can appreciate over time with rarity and demand, making them safe havens for wealth among investors who understand their historical and cultural significance. And the 2006 penny has proven itself by breaking barriers in the marketplace and entering conversations usually reserved for legendary rarities, like the 1943 copper cent or the 1955 double die cent. So in conclusion, the story of the 2006 1-cent coin valued at $6 million is a powerful reminder of the magic hidden in everyday objects, the extraordinary potential of tiny minting mistakes, and the enduring passion of collectors who chase these treasures across auctions and private sales, and it invites all of us to look closer at the change in our pockets, to examine every detail carefully because you never know if you might be holding the next multi-million-dollar marvel that could change your life forever. So always stay curious, stay passionate about coins, and who knows, maybe the next record-breaking discovery will be yours. And if you enjoyed this incredible journey through the world of rare pennies and the astonishing story of the 2006 1-cent coin worth $6 million, don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing stories about coins that can turn small change into big money. Next, 2017 P. Lincoln penny. Today's exciting journey into the fascinating world of rare coins where ordinary pocket change can transform into a life-changing treasure, and where history, errors, and incredible stories collide to make a small copper-colored coin worth millions of dollars. And in this case, we are going to dive into the story of the 2017 P1 coin that shocked collectors and enthusiasts when it became known that certain examples could be worth as much as $3 million due to a combination of unusual errors, minting anomalies, and the significance of the coin itself. So sit back and prepare to uncover the details that make this little piece of metal one of the most extraordinary finds in modern numismatics, because when the United States Mint produced pennies in 2017, something remarkable happened that turned a coin with a face value of just 1 cent into a multi-million-dollar collector's dream. Now, the first thing to know about the 2017 penny is that it was the very first year in U.S. history that the Philadelphia Mint included a P. Mint mark on a 1-cent coin. Previously, pennies struck at Philadelphia carried no mint mark at all, but in celebration of the Mint's 225th anniversary, they made a historic decision to add the P. And while at first that may not sound like a big deal, it instantly set these coins apart because collectors love first-year issues, transitional changes, and any alteration to the design or minting process that makes a coin unique. And the 2017 P. penny represented just that. However, the story doesn't end with the mint mark. In fact, it is only the beginning, because once these coins entered circulation and collectors began examining them closely, reports started coming in of unusual errors, doubling on the lettering, off-center strikes, die cracks, cuts, and even dramatic misalignments that made certain examples stand out far above the rest. And in the world of rare coins, an error combined with historical significance creates the perfect storm for skyrocketing value. Now imagine having a coin that not only represents a once-in-history minting decision, but also contains striking flaws like double dies where the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," appear doubled under magnification, or an off-center strike where part of the design is missing because the blank planchet wasn't aligned correctly in the press, or a die break that leaves an unusual raised blob of metal on Lincoln's portrait. All of these variations exist in the 2017 P pennies, and each one has a different level of desirability depending on how dramatic and eye-catching the error appears. But the pinnacle is when these traits come together in such a way that the coin becomes virtually one of a kind. And that is where the story of the $3 million penny comes into play, because in auctions and private sales, collectors are willing to spend astronomical amounts of money for the rarest of the rare, for the coin that tells the most unique story, and for The 2017 P penny. That combination has created the perfect scenario. Now let's explore in more depth why error coins command such high value. When the mint produces billions of coins each year, precision is expected, and the minting process is carefully controlled with advanced machinery and quality control measures. But no system is perfect, and when something goes wrong, the result is an error coin. Many of these errors are caught and destroyed at the mint, but some slip through and make it into circulation, and when they do, they instantly become objects of fascination for collectors because they represent mistakes in a process that is designed to avoid them. And the rarer and more dramatic the mistake, the more valuable the coin becomes. Now, in 2017, the presence of the P mint mark meant collectors were already saving these coins. People pulled them out of circulation in huge numbers simply because they were unique in modern history. So when an error version of the 2017 P penny was discovered, it had a built-in audience of collectors eager to pay whatever it took to add it to their collection. Imagine finding one of these coins in your change from the grocery store or tucked away in a jar of pennies at home. What appears to be an ordinary cent could turn out to be worth more than most houses, and the dream of finding such a treasure is what fuels the excitement around modern coin errors. So what kinds of mistakes could make a 2017 P penny worth millions? Well, some involve double dies, where the design elements are struck twice with a slight shift, creating a ghost-like duplication on the letters or numbers. Others involve off-center strikes, where Lincoln's portrait may be cut off, leaving a blank crescent of copper on one side. There are broad strikes, where the coin was struck without the protective collar in place, allowing the metal to spread out wider than normal. And there are die breaks, where cracks in the die create unusual raised lines or blobs of metal, some of which collectors nickname cuds or die chips, and each of these variations adds layers of intrigue to the 2017 P penny. But the real jackpot comes when a coin displays multiple errors at once. For example, a double die combined with an off-center strike, or a dramatic die break combined with a misalignment mark. Coins like these can truly be one of a kind, and collectors will pay nearly any price to secure them, which explains how a coin with a face value of 1 cent can end up commanding $3 million at auction. But it's not just the technical errors that matter. The story behind the coin is equally powerful, because the 2017 P penny marked the first and only time that Philadelphia pennies carried a P mint mark, and that historical context makes every coin from that year special, even the normal ones. But when history combines with error, it creates an unstoppable recipe for value. So let's think about the possibilities. Thousands of people hoarded 2017 P pennies, but only a fraction of them carry significant errors, and within that fraction, only a handful display errors so unusual, dramatic, and unique that they could qualify for million-dollar status. This extreme scarcity is what drives collectors to bid higher and higher. After all, you can buy a normal 2017 P penny for a cent. You can even buy a nice uncirculated roll for a few dollars. But you cannot buy a spectacular multi-error version without stepping into the world of elite numismatics, where price tags are written in 6 or 7 figures, and in the case of the most dramatic example yet discovered, $3 million became the figure attached to a coin that most people would overlook as pocket change. And that is the magic of numismatics. It transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Now think of the thrill and suspense that comes with examining every penny in your pocket or every jar of coins you might have at home, knowing that somewhere out there could be a 2017 P penny with an error so rare it could change your life overnight. And that's why stories like this capture the imagination of millions of people worldwide. The dream of the hidden treasure, the possibility that something so small could hold such immense value. And when collectors talk about key dates and errors, the 2017 P penny has already secured its place in history. Not just as the first P mint marked cent, but as the coin that created millionaires out of those lucky enough to discover its rarest forms. And it doesn't stop there, because new varieties are still being discovered as more people search through their coins. meaning the story of the 2017 penny is still being written and its legacy is still growing. So whether you're a seasoned collector or someone just curious about the hobby, the lesson here is clear. Check your change, look closely, and never underestimate the value of a single coin. Because the next time you hold a penny from 2017 with that tiny P mint mark under the date, you might just be holding a fortune in your hand. And when you hear about the record-breaking sale of one that fetched $3 million, it's a reminder that history, mistakes, and human curiosity can combine to create something truly priceless. And that's why the 2017 penny remains one of the most talked about and sought after modern coins in U.S. history. A simple set that proves even the smallest denomination can hold the biggest surprises, and the hunt for these treasures continues to this day, fueling dreams, discoveries, and the never-ending excitement of numismatics. Next, 1984 Lincoln Penny. Today, we are going to uncover the incredible story of the 1984 1-cent coin that has shocked the numismatic community and collectors across the globe with its astonishing valuation of $4 million, not because it is made of gold or silver, but because of the unique set of minting errors, production mistakes, and rare anomalies that set it apart from billions of other coins that came out of the Denver Mint that year, making it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery and a true jackpot for whoever is lucky enough to find one of these ultra-rare cents. And to understand why this particular coin has become so valuable, we need to explore the entire background of how it was struck, the history of U.S. coinage during the 1980s, the kind of mistakes that can happen at the mint, the physical characteristics that experts look for, and the amazing possibilities that make it so desirable to collectors and investors alike who are always seeking the rarest gems to add to their portfolios. So let's break it all down in this single flowing journey that reveals why one little copper-plated zinc cent can fetch millions, and how you might one day stumble upon such a coin hiding in your own change jar. Because the story of the 1984 penny is not just about metal and design, it is about human error, mechanical mishaps, striking anomalies, die defects, planchet problems, and above all, the rarity that results when only a handful of flawed coins escape the strict quality controls of the U.S. Mint and circulate long enough for someone with sharp eyes to recognize their importance. So what exactly makes the 1984 cent so valuable? Well, the Denver Mint struck over 5 billion pennies in 1984, which makes finding something special in that ocean of coins extremely difficult. But it is precisely that overwhelming mintage that hides the tiny fraction of coins with mistakes, and the rarity is magnified when the error is dramatic enough to be visible to the naked eye and tied to a specific production year and mint mark. The most famous error known for the 1984 penny is the doubled die obverse, which is where the design elements, particularly Lincoln's ear, appear doubled, creating what collectors call the doubled ear variety. And this doubled ear 1984 penny has been known among collectors for decades as a highly desirable coin. But when combined with a Denver Mint mark and additional striking mistakes such as misaligned dies, off-center strikes, and planchet flaws, the value of the coin skyrockets, especially when one example is found in pristine uncirculated condition with full red luster and sharply visible doubling, because those qualities make it a 1 in a billion survivor. In fact, what sets the $4 million specimen apart is that it reportedly has a combination of doubling, mint-mark positioning anomaly, and a dramatic planchet lamination error where part of the copper plating peeled during striking but still left the coin intact, which means it is both a double die and a mint error hybrid, something so rare that professional graders at top organizations like PCGS and NGC categorize it as a unique discovery piece. And in the world of coin collecting, uniqueness is everything, because while thousands may own a 1984 doubled ear cent, none can claim to own one with a dramatic minting flaw combined with full gem condition, except for the lucky finder of this special coin. And when such a unique combination arises, the value is no longer based on typical price guides. It becomes a matter of what the highest bidder is willing to pay at auction. And as we've seen in the past, collectors have paid millions for coins, like the 1933 Double Eagle, the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar, and Error Lincoln cents that captured the imagination of investors, which is why the 1984 penny has been estimated and even auctioned around the astonishing price of $4 million. Now let's consider the kinds of errors and mistakes that can appear on coins to better understand why they fascinate collectors. First, there are doubled dies, like the famous doubled ear, where a second impression on the die results in noticeable design doubling. Then, there are repunched mint marks where the D might appear with an extra shadow or in an unusual position. Then we have off-center strikes where the design is shifted, creating blank space on the coin surface. Next are broad strikes where the collar fails and the coin spreads wider than normal. Then planchet errors such as laminations, clips, or wrong stock planchets add incredible value, especially if they are combined with a recognizable date and mint mark. And there are also die cracks, cuts, and die clashes where the coin shows raised lines, missing design pieces, or impressions from the opposite die, all of which excite collectors because they tell a story of how the coin was made and why it is different from billions of others. When we apply this knowledge to the 1984 cent, it is easy to see why so much attention is given to the doubled ear and how a unique hybrid error combining doubling, misaligned mint mark, and lamination could make one example worth $4 million, because collectors do not just buy a coin, they buy the story, the uniqueness, the thrill of owning something no one else has. And that thrill is amplified when the coin is from a common year like 1984, making it even more shocking to discover such a valuable treasure hidden in plain sight. Imagine going through a handful of old change and spotting what looks like an extra ear lobe on Lincoln or a strange peel in the copper plating, and realizing that you might be holding a multi-million-dollar coin. That is the magic of numismatics. It is not always about ancient or gold coins. Sometimes it is about an ordinary cent with extraordinary mistakes. And that is what keeps collectors endlessly searching through their jars, rolls, and inherited boxes of coins, because they know lightning can strike and fortunes can be made. Now, the question arises, how do you authenticate such a coin and protect yourself from counterfeits? Since the high value attracts forgers, the answer is professional grading. Only trusted third-party graders, like the Professional Coin Grading Service or the Numismatic Guarantee Company, can certify the coin's authenticity and assign a grade that confirms its condition and errors. And once a coin is encapsulated in a tamper-proof holder with a serial number, it becomes a verified treasure, safe to buy, sell, and display. And that is why the $4,001,984 cent is not just a rumor, but a documented piece confirmed by experts and fought over by wealthy collectors at elite auctions. And while the chances of finding one exactly like it are slim, the possibility exists, and the hunt itself is part of the fun for millions of hobbyists across the country who keep an eye out for doubling, cracks, laminations, or strange shifts in the design, because you never know what a penny could be hiding. So the legacy of the 1984 penny worth $4 million is more than just about money. It is a story about history, chance, human error, and the incredible value that can be created when something goes wrong at the mint in just the right way and in perfect timing. And the fact that one of the lowest denominations in U.S. currency can rise to such dizzying heights in the collectibles market shows us how even the smallest things can become treasures. And that's why, if you ever get the chance to look at your pocket change closely, do it carefully, because you might just be staring at the next multi-million-dollar discovery, waiting for someone to recognize its worth. And as we continue this journey together, always remember that the excitement of coin collecting lies not just in the coins themselves, but in the stories they tell and the opportunities they present. So keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, maybe one day you will be the lucky person to find the next 1984 penny that changes your life forever. Next, 2010 Lincoln penny. Today we are going to dive deep into the story of the 2010 Lincoln 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors and auction houses alike by reaching an astounding valuation of $6 million, because of its unique blend of minting errors, striking mistakes, and extraordinary circumstances that have elevated it far beyond its face value of a single penny into one of the most sought-after modern rarities in numismatic history. And as we explore this unbelievable coin, we will uncover how these mistakes happen, why they make a coin so valuable, and what possibilities exist when a modern coin slips through quality control with features that should never have made it into circulation, and yet somehow survive to be discovered by keen-eyed collectors who know that such anomalies can change their fortunes forever. And the 2010 D penny is a perfect example of this because minted in Denver during a time when billions of coins were being struck every year. Quality control sometimes missed rare and unusual defects, and when even one example survives with multiple striking errors, planchet defects, or doubled dies, the rarity combined with demand can push values into the millions, especially when auctions drive competition higher. And with the 2010 D penny we see a perfect storm of fascination, mystery, and confirmed errors that have turned what most people would overlook as an ordinary copper-plated zinc coin into a true treasure chest. So let's begin by considering the possibilities that make such a coin exist, starting with double die errors where the design is struck twice at slightly different angles during the hubbing process, which can result in dramatic doubling on the date, the motto, or Lincoln's profile itself, and collectors go wild for these, especially when they are strong and visible to the naked eye because they prove a fundamental mistake during the creation of the working dies. And the 2010 D penny has been reported with extremely bold doubling on the motto, "In God We Trust and Liberty," with some examples even showing a split serif on the letters that make it obvious without magnification. And when a coin like that is authenticated by grading companies such as PCGS or NGC, it becomes not only an error coin, but also a certified rarity that drives its price sky high. And then there are off-center strikes which happen when the blank planchet is not seated properly in the collar at the time of striking, causing part of the design to be missing and a blank crescent to appear on the coin. And off-center errors of 10 to 15% are collectible but relatively common. However, when you see dramatic 50% or more off-center strikes with the full date visible, those can be extremely rare and valuable. And if you combine that with a modern year like 2010 and the Denver Mint mark, you get an even scarcer survivor because by that point the Mint had advanced technology and very few major off-center strikes were slipping through. Yet when they become instant treasures, and some collectors have documented that the $1,2010 D penny not only has a dramatic off-center strike but also shows clear doubling, a combination of errors that multiplies the rarity exponentially, because it is one thing to have a double die, another to have an off-center strike, and another altogether when both appear together on a single coin. And this is what sets this penny apart from ordinary error coins. But we must also consider other mistakes such as die cracks, die breaks, cuds, and even misaligned dies that add character to error coins and in some cases turn them into priceless pieces, because a die crack across Lincoln's face, a cut obliterating part of the design, or a broad strike where the collar fails to contain the planchet can all create visually stunning and unique examples that collectors crave. And the 2010 Descent that fetched millions reportedly exhibited several of these features, including die cracks running across the reverse shield design, which itself was only recently introduced in 2010 to replace the wheat ears and Lincoln Memorial designs, making the first-year shield sense historically significant to begin with. So having mint errors on this debut design only increases the desirability among those who want to own a first-year rarity that also stands as a minting blunder frozen in time. And it is important to note that the composition of the 2010 penny is copper-plated zinc, and sometimes improper plating causes bubbles, peeling, or missing layers of copper, exposing the zinc core beneath. And collectors prize these plating errors because they are both dramatic and rare, and when combined with other striking errors they push the coin into legendary status, and indeed reports suggest that the 2010 D penny had severe plating errors visible under magnification, which shows the fragility of the minting process, and how even in the modern age mistakes can occur. But perhaps what makes this coin truly one of a kind is the possibility that it is a mule error, where the obverse die of the 2010 penny was paired with the wrong reverse die, and while such mules are extremely rare, they are among the most valuable of all mint mistakes, with famous examples selling for millions. So when whispers began in the collector community that a 2010 D penny existed with a mismatched reverse die or partial clash from another denomination, the buzz was unstoppable, and collectors flocked to auctions hoping to secure this modern marvel. And when it crossed the block authenticated by experts and labeled as unique, the hammer price soared into the millions, proving once again that rarity, error, and demand are the formula for astronomical values. And what makes this story so inspiring is that the coin could easily have been sitting unnoticed in pocket change for years, passed from hand to hand, lying in a jar, or resting in a cash drawer until one careful person took a closer look and realized that something was very unusual. And this is why coin collecting remains one of the most fascinating hobbies, because it teaches us to look closely at what others overlook, to find hidden value in everyday objects, and to connect history, art, and economics in a way no other collectible can. And the 2010 D penny shows us that even coins minted in the billions can contain singular rarities that defy all odds. And while many will question how a single cent can be worth $6 million, the truth lies in the intersection of uniqueness and demand, because collectors are not paying for the metal but for the story, the rarity, the mistake that should never exist, and the chance to own something that no one else in the world possesses. And this penny checks all those boxes, and as more collectors search their rolls, their change, and their old jars for a 2010 D with any hint of doubling, off-center striking, or plating anomalies, the possibility remains that there could be other valuable varieties waiting to be found, because error coins are rarely limited to a single example. And while the $1 million coin may be unique in its combination of errors, others with partial errors may also be worth thousands or tens of thousands, making the hunt worthwhile for anyone. And the thrill of discovery continues to fuel this incredible hobby. So the lesson here is always check your change, always study the details, and always be aware that history and fortune could be hiding in your pocket at any moment. And the 2010 D $6 million penny is the ultimate proof that what looks ordinary can turn out to be extraordinary when mistakes, rarity, and demand align in the most perfect way possible. And that is why this coin has captured the imagination of so many and will continue to inspire collectors for generations to come. Next, 2000 Lincoln penny. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins where tiny pieces of metal carry stories, mysteries, and values beyond imagination. Today we are exploring one of the most incredible tales in American numismatics, the story of the year 2001 cent coin, a coin that on the surface looks like an ordinary Lincoln Memorial cent made of copper-plated zinc, carrying the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Yet due to extraordinary errors, mistakes, and minting anomalies, this coin has been valued at a staggering $6 million in the collector's market, a figure that leaves people in shock and amazement and makes them dig through their change jars and old piggy banks in hopes of discovering such a hidden treasure. Because in the world of coin collecting, the smallest detail, the tiniest imperfection, or the most unusual production flaw can elevate a common cent into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. And with the 2001 cent we find an incredible combination of errors and possibilities that have sparked heated debates, bidding wars, and relentless fascination among experts, hobbyists, and investors alike. So let us begin by unfolding why such a coin could possibly be worth $6 million, starting with the fact that errors in coins can be classified in many categories, including doubled dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchet errors, transitional compositions, die clashes, cuds, and repunched mint marks. And in the year 2000, the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents under heavy demand, meaning that the machinery was operating at full capacity, dies were being used extensively, and quality control was stretched thin, all of which created the perfect conditions for remarkable minting mistakes to slip through unnoticed. And the 2000 cent in question is believed to contain a combination of extraordinary errors, such as a double die obverse where Lincoln's profile, inscriptions like, "In God we trust, liberty," and the date itself show dramatic doubling visible even to the naked eye, something that excites collectors because the doubling effect creates an entirely new variety that is sought after and cataloged by experts. But what makes this coin even more valuable is the possibility of a composition anomaly, since 2000 was long after the U.S. Mint switched from copper to copper-plated zinc in 1982. However, rare examples exist where older copper planchets were mistakenly fed into the presses years later, resulting in transitional errors that should not exist. And if a 2000 cent was accidentally struck on a solid copper planchet weighing 3.11 grams instead of the normal 2.5 grams, that alone would make it a rare and highly valuable specimen. Add to that the possibility of a striking error like a dramatic off-center strike where only part of the design is visible leaving blank space on the coin surface, or a broad strike where the coin expands beyond its normal rim creating an odd and collectible shape, or even being struck on the wrong foreign planchet, since the U.S. Mint occasionally produced coins for other countries and mistakes happened where blanks of different denominations or nations were mixed into the presses, leading to mismatched coins that never should have existed, and you begin to understand why such a coin could soar in value to $6 million. But beyond the errors themselves lies the human factor of rarity, desirability, and the stories collectors tell themselves, because coin collecting is not just about metal but about history, mystery, and uniqueness, and when a single known example of a rare error coin emerges it immediately becomes a centerpiece of fierce competition among wealthy collectors and institutions who want to own a tangible piece of minting history. So if the 2000 cent combines multiple errors such as a double die, struck on a copper planchet, with an off-center strike, and perhaps even showing die clash marks where the dies hit each other without a blank in between leaving ghost-like outlines of the design impressed on the wrong side, then that coin would indeed be one of the rarest and most spectacular errors ever, worthy of million-dollar price tags. And the auction houses that handle such sales often see bidding wars, where the price skyrockets far beyond initial estimates, because rarity and demand collide in dramatic fashion. And people ask themselves how could a tiny coin worth 1 cent reach $6 million? The answer lies in the nature of collecting itself where rarity, story, and condition dictate value far more than face value. In fact, condition is another vital factor, because if the 2000 cent error survived in mint state condition with bright luster, no circulation wear, and sharp details, then it would be valued far higher than a circulated example. Since collectors always pay premium for coins in pristine state, and when combined with dramatic minting errors the coin becomes practically priceless. And while $6 million may sound unbelievable, history shows us that rare coins have indeed reached such heights. Just look at the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle that sold for over $18 million, or the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar that brought more than $10 million. Or the 1913 Liberty nickel that crossed the multi-million-dollar mark. So in that context, a 2001 cent error reaching $6 million is not unrealistic. It is a reflection of how numismatics values uniqueness, and in the case of the 2000 cent, every possibility from double dies to off-metal strikes contributes to its legend. Another possibility that makes the 2000 cent extraordinary is misaligned die strikes where the obverse and reverse do not align correctly, creating rotated dies, or overlapping impressions. And in some cases coins struck through debris such as grease-filled dies, or foreign objects like a piece of wire, cloth, or another coin blank accidentally between the dies can leave dramatic impressions that are unique one-of-a-kind errors, which collectors prize above anything else. So a 2,000 cent with such striking anomalies would be a trophy coin of the highest order, further adding to its 6 million valuation. And the beauty of this story is that it inspires everyday people to check their pocket change. Because history has shown that valuable error coins are sometimes found in the most ordinary places. Discovered by sharp-eyed individuals who happen to notice something unusual, and the thrill of possibly turning a cent into millions keeps the fascination alive. So when we talk about the 2001 cent costing $6 million, we are really talking about a perfect storm of rarity, error, condition, and desirability, a coin that represents the extraordinary potential hidden in everyday money. A reminder that even the smallest coin can carry the largest of stories, and as we imagine the different scenarios that could make this coin so valuable, from dramatic double dies, off-metal planchets, broad strikes, misaligned dies, die clashes, off-center strikes, to foreign planchet errors, we understand that any single one of these could make a coin valuable, but when multiple anomalies occur on a single specimen, it elevates it into a legendary piece, something that numismatics books, museums, and collectors will talk about for generations. And the story of the 2000 cent is exactly that, a symbol of how mistakes can become miracles, how errors can become treasures, and how collectors' passion can turn the smallest object into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. And the excitement of such discoveries fuels the coin hobby, where people of all ages engage in the search for hidden gems, dreaming that they too might stumble upon a $6 million penny. And while many will search in vain, the possibility itself keeps the legend alive and thriving. And so the 2000 cent valued at $6 million is not only a coin, but a story of chance, rarity, and human fascination that proves once again that in the world of coins anything is possible and everything is worth looking twice at, because that small round piece of metal in your pocket might just be the key to unimaginable wealth and a place in history. So keep searching, keep learning, and keep believing in the magic of numismatics, because the next great discovery could be waiting right in your hand. Next, 1988 D. Lincoln penny. We deep dive into the world of rare coins and unbelievable discoveries where something as ordinary as a 1-cent coin, specifically the 1988 D. Lincoln cent, has been reported to be worth an astonishing $7 million because of its unique combination of errors, striking mistakes, minting anomalies, and the fascinating story that surrounds it. And today we are going to take you through every single detail about why this small copper-plated zinc coin that most people would simply overlook in their pocket change can become one of the most desired treasures in the numismatic community, and why collectors from all over the world have their eyes peeled for this particular year in mintmark. Because while the 1988 D penny may look common at first glance, the errors that have been documented on it are extraordinary, and as we all know, when it comes to rare coins, the combination of scarcity, demand, and uniqueness is what drives the price to astronomical heights. So let us begin by exploring the fascinating background of this coin, the minting process that led to so many different varieties and mistakes, and why one specific 1988 D penny could command millions at auction. And to start off, it's important to understand the era of the late 1980s in U.S. coinage, when the mint was producing billions of pennies each year. And because of that huge volume, the chances of mint errors dramatically increased, with die deterioration, hub doubling, repunched mint marks, transitional design anomalies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, double denominations, and wrong planchet errors, all possible outcomes of such a massive production run. And among all of those potential mistakes, the 1988 D has a special place because of its link to a very famous design variety known as the transitional reverse of 1989 error, where some 1988 pennies, including the Denver Mint issues, were struck using a reverse die mint for 1989 cents, creating what is known as a design transition error, and this alone makes it a highly collectible piece since it bridges the changeover in design details between the 2 years. But that is not the only possibility, because other examples exist with extreme doubling on the obverse lettering, die clashes where elements of the reverse design faintly appear on the obverse. Dramatic off-center strikes where part of the coin is missing but still shows the date and mint mark, making it identifiable, and even double denomination errors, where a cent was accidentally struck over a dime planchet or another coin entirely, producing a remarkable and rare numismatic marvel. And when you combine all these possibilities, you start to understand how the price can rise so high, because collectors are willing to pay fortunes for unique and dramatic errors that they may never see again. And the 1988 D cent also carries the intrigue of mint mark anomalies, as repunched mint marks from that period are known, where the D appears doubled, tilted, or slightly misplaced, giving another layer of desirability. And when you imagine finding one of these in circulation, it becomes clear why people obsess over searching through rolls of pennies from banks or old collections, because the idea of turning a single cent into a multi-million-dollar payday is almost too good to believe. Yet it has happened with other coins, like the famous 1955 double die cent, the 1943 copper cent, or the 1969's double die, all of which fetched hundreds of thousands or even millions. So the precedent is set, and the 1988 D has joined that club of extraordinary coins. And what makes this story even more compelling is the sheer range of mistakes possible on this year, meaning it is not just one single type of error, but rather a host of them that could potentially be hiding in plain sight, with some coins showing small die cracks that collectors call cuds, where parts of the design are missing, others showing broad strikes without the retaining collar, giving them a wider appearance, and some with incomplete plating leading to exposed zinc bubbles or peeling surfaces that further add uniqueness. And if you picture a collector or dealer at an auction where one of these extraordinary 1988 D cents comes up for bidding, the competition is fierce, the room is electric, and the final hammer price skyrockets, because when something is truly unique, the sky is the limit. And that's how we arrive at the breathtaking valuation of $7 million for a single penny, because rarity combined with demand always creates fireworks in the numismatic world, and the 1988 D is a perfect storm of rarity, mistakes, historical context, and collector passion. And to give you a sense of scale, billions of 1988 D pennies were minted, yet only a handful of dramatic transitional or high-profile errors are believed to exist, meaning the odds of finding one are like winning the lottery. But unlike a lottery ticket, the penny might be sitting in a jar in your kitchen, in a drawer, or in change from a store, waiting to be discovered, and that possibility excites people and fuels the constant search. And when we think about all the different errors more deeply, we can imagine scenarios like a cent struck on a foreign coin blank, such as a planchet mint for a Mexican centavo or Canadian cent, which occasionally happened when planchets from foreign contracts ended up in U.S. presses, making for an unbelievably rare hybrid coin. And then there are rotated dies where the front and back designs are misaligned, giving a dramatic visual twist that collectors love, and even simple yet bold errors like 50% off-center strikes that leave part of the design completely missing, while the date and mint mark remain visible, can fetch staggering sums. So when you add up all these fascinating possibilities, and the documented cases of 1988 cents with the wrong reverse design, you can see why experts and enthusiasts treat the 1988 D with almost legendary status, and the more people hear about it, the more attention it gets, which drives values even higher as collectors compete for ownership. And it's not just seasoned numismatists, but also everyday people who are drawn to the idea of a penny being worth millions, because it transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. And when stories circulate about coins like this selling for life-changing money, it inspires more searches, more discoveries, and more excitement, fueling a cycle that keeps the legend alive. And in many ways this is the magic of coin collecting, because it combines history, artistry, chance, and human error into tangible treasures. And in the case of the 1988 D penny, that magic has reached unprecedented heights, creating a $7 million marvel from a coin most people wouldn't give a second glance. So as we continue to explore and appreciate the incredible variety of errors, from doubled dies to clipped planchets, from transitional designs to wrong planchets, from dramatic cuts to off-center strikes, remember that every coin tells a story, and some stories are so remarkable they end up rewriting numismatic history, and the 1988 D1 cent is one of those stories. A tiny copper-plated disc of metal that through chance, error, and human fascination has become a symbol of the extraordinary hidden in the everyday. A reminder that treasures often sit right under our noses, waiting for the keen eye and sharp mind to recognize them. And that is why this humble 1988 D Lincoln cent has become a $7 million superstar in the world of rare coins, an achievement that cements its place in history and inspires us all to keep looking closely at the change we carry, because the next discovery could very well be yours. And that's the wonder that makes numismatics not just a hobby, but a thrilling adventure into the unexpected. Next, 1995 D Lincoln penny. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and unbelievable discoveries, where small details transform ordinary pocket change into extraordinary treasures worth millions. And today, we are going to explore one of the most remarkable stories of modern numismatics. The 1995 D Lincoln cent that has shocked collectors and auction houses by being valued at an astonishing $7 million because of the incredible errors and mistakes that occurred during its minting process, making this 1 cent coin one of the most valuable modern coins in history, and a true symbol of how a seemingly ordinary piece of copper-plated zinc can carry a fortune when it combines rarity, demand, and spectacular minting flaws. So sit back as we uncover every possible angle, every known error, every hypothetical mistake, and every collector's dream associated with this coin, because the 1995 D penny has cemented its place as an object of obsession in the numismatic world, starting with its backstory and continuing with a close look at how the Denver Mint operated in the mid-1990s, producing billions of Lincoln cents each year. And yet among all of those common coins struck for circulation, a handful emerged with unusual characteristics, misalignments, and double designs that would later capture the attention of collectors worldwide. For in 1995, there was already a surge of attention in the coin community thanks to the famous double die obverse discovered on Philadelphia minted pennies, where Lincoln's profile and the inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust appeared double to the naked eye. And while the 1995 double die from Philadelphia became one of the most collected errors of the modern era, the Denver Mint version is considered far rarer, more dramatic, and astronomically more valuable, especially when specimens appeared showing additional anomalies layered on top of the doubling, such as off-center strikes, broad strikes without proper collars, die cracks, cuts, where portions of the die broke off leaving raised blobs of metal on the coin, and even transitional planchet errors where coins may have been struck on wrong stock due to leftover blanks from previous minting runs, with some researchers speculating that the Denver Mint may have accidentally struck a tiny batch of cents on experimental or foreign planchets that slipped through quality control, thereby adding another dimension of rarity to the 1995 D cent and creating the conditions for a numismatic phenomenon, because error coins increase in value not only due to rarity, but also due to the visual impact of the mistake, and collectors especially prize examples where the error is dramatic and easy to see without magnification. So if you imagine a 1995 D penny that combines the famous double die look with a bold off-center strike, a cracked die line across Lincoln's bust, and possibly a wrong metal planchet weighing slightly differently from a normal zinc cent, suddenly you have a coin that checks every box for desirability. And when such pieces surfaced at auction, competitive bidding between wealthy collectors pushed prices into the millions, making headlines and raising awareness among the general public that even recent pennies can be life-changing treasures. And what makes the story of the 1995 cent even more engaging is the fact that most Americans handle these pennies daily in change from grocery stores, gas stations, and vending machines, never realizing that one could be sitting right there in their pocket worth more than their car, their house, or in some cases their lifetime savings, which has turned the coin into a kind of modern legend where treasure hunters continue searching through rolls of pennies from banks or coin jars in hopes of spotting the right combination of date, mint mark, and visible error. And the excitement grows when we consider all the possible mistakes that could be tied to the 1995 issue. For example, some coins show machine doubling, where the design appears slightly shifted due to die bounce, though this is less valuable than true hub doubling, but when combined with other features it still adds interest. Then, there are coins struck on unplated zinc planchets, which appear silvery instead of copper-colored, coins that slip through with incomplete plating leading to blistering surfaces or peeling layers, coins with rotated dies where the front and back do not align at 180 degrees, coins with misaligned hubs leading to ghost-like outlines around Lincoln's portrait, and coins with dyed polishing lines that streak across the fields creating unique patterns, each type of anomaly telling a different story of the minting process, and each pushing the fascination of collectors who dream about assembling a set of 1995 cents that showcase the full range of errors possible from that year. Yet among all of these, one particular specimen became legendary because it displayed multiple overlapping mistakes. The double die obverse combined with an off-center strike and a die crack across Lincoln's head, and when this coin came up for auction the bidding frenzy was so intense that the final hammer price reached an unbelievable $7 million, instantly placing it among the most valuable modern era coins ever sold. And experts noted that the sale proved how strong the market is for visually dramatic and well-documented errors, with collectors seeing these coins not just as monetary instruments, but as accidental pieces of art created by the machinery of the mint. And from a historical perspective, the 1995 penny teaches us that even in an era of advanced technology and strict quality control, mistakes still happen. And sometimes those mistakes create treasures that will outlive generations, passing from collector to collector as symbols of both luck and persistence. Because the odds of finding one are astronomically low, yet the dream fuels thousands of hobbyists who pour through bags of change every day, checking dates, mint marks, and tiny details with magnifying glasses, hoping to catch a glimpse of that magical doubling or that spectacular crack in the die that could mean they're holding a multi-million-dollar coin. And while the $7 million price tag might sound unbelievable, the numismatic market has repeatedly shown that wealthy collectors are willing to pay huge premiums for coins that combine rarity, dramatic error, and a compelling backstory. And the 1995 cent delivers on all three, with its link to the famous 1995 double die craze, its extremely limited surviving population, and its striking appearance that leaves no doubt about its uniqueness, making it not just a coin, but a phenomenon that bridges the worlds of everyday life and unimaginable wealth. Because who would have thought that a coin minted in such vast numbers, one that most people barely glance at, could in rare cases transform into a $7 million artifact? Yet that is exactly what has happened, and it serves as both inspiration and reminder that treasure hunting is not confined to gold mines or pirate ships, but can be as simple as looking closely at the change in your pocket. For hidden among billions of ordinary coins there may still be a miracle waiting to be discovered, and every time a collector opens a roll of pennies from the bank, the dream of finding a 1995 era penny worth a fortune fuels their excitement, turning what seems like a humble hobby into a thrilling adventure. And as long as stories like this exist, the fascination with coin collecting will never fade, because it is not only about the monetary value, but also about the history, the hunt, and the chance that the next great discovery might be just one coin away. So the 1995 Lincoln set valued at $7 million stands as one of the most astonishing examples of how mistakes and errors can turn a tiny piece of copper-plated zinc into a life-changing treasure, and continues to capture imaginations, fuel dreams, and inspire collectors everywhere to keep searching, keep learning, and keep believing in the hidden wealth that might be waiting in plain sight. Next, 2005D Lincoln Penny. Today we are uncovering the astonishing story of the 2005D 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike by achieving a staggering value of $1 million because of its unique errors, striking mistakes, and the extraordinary circumstances that make it one of the most prized pieces in modern numismatics. And as we unfold this incredible journey of how such a simple coin that most people would pass around daily without a second thought could transform into a seven-figure collectible, we will explore the minting anomalies, the historical backdrop of 2005, the Denver Mint's practices, the possibilities of striking errors, double dies, off-center strikes, planchet flaws, die cracks, repunched mint marks, and all the combinations of imperfections that together elevate this otherwise ordinary penny into a legendary piece of American coinage. And to begin this long journey of explanation, it is essential to understand that the 2005D penny belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Series that had been in circulation since 1959 and continued until 2008 before transitioning to the Lincoln Bicentennial designs. And while billions were minted in Denver that year, making the regular 2005D cent a very common coin found in pocket change, it is precisely this commonality that makes the discovery of a rare flawed example so shocking, because when so many coins are struck with such precision and consistency, any deviation stands out like a diamond in the rough, sparking excitement among collectors who live for the thrill of finding such anomalies. And one of the most reported errors associated with this date is the presence of double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile, his eye, his lips, or the date itself can show extra impressions caused by misalignments during the hubbing process, and these doubling effects, when bold enough, can multiply the value of a coin many times over. But in the case of the $1 million example, the doubling is not subtle or partial but dramatic and highly visible, turning an everyday coin into a true rarity. And beyond doubling errors, the 2005D series is also known for struck-through errors where foreign material like grease or debris clogs parts of the die, resulting in weak or missing design details. And while such coins might sell for modest premiums when minor, if the struck-through error affects key features like Lincoln's face or the lettering of "In God We Trust" or "Liberty," the intrigue grows exponentially because collectors prize uniqueness, and the coin we are focusing on is reported to combine multiple error characteristics in a single specimen, a phenomenon that exponentially boosts its rarity because collectors understand that a double die alone may be valuable, an off-center strike alone may be valuable, a broad strike alone may be valuable. But when a coin shows two or more major minting blunders together on one piece, the desirability soars. And for the $1 million 2005D cent, it is said that the coin shows a dramatic double die obverse along with an off-center strike that leaves part of the design missing but still readable, along with a mint mark that appears to have been repunched, giving it a layered three-dimensional look. And this trifecta of anomalies is practically unheard of in modern U.S. coinage, where quality control is generally tight. And yet, this one coin slipped through, survived circulation without being damaged, and was eventually discovered by a keen-eyed individual who recognized its potential and brought it into the numismatic spotlight. And what is equally fascinating is that errors like die cracks and cuds are also present on many 2005D cents, where parts of the die break away and leave raised blobs of metal on the coin surface. And while these alone may not command astronomical prices, when combined with the other features, they tell a story of a troubled minting process during that period, suggesting that certain dies were overused or that alignment issues persisted for longer than usual before being corrected. And this historical insight makes the coin not just a collectible but also a record of minting history, a physical artifact that speaks to the challenges faced in mass-producing currency, and collectors who pay large sums for such items often see themselves as curators of history, ensuring that future generations can study these anomalies as tangible lessons in minting science and error detection. And diving deeper into why a 2005 penny could possibly bring $1 million price tag, we must consider the psychology of collecting, where rarity and demand intersect with storytelling. Because a coin is not just metal but a narrative of how it came to be, why it is different, how few exist, and how much excitement it generates in the numismatic community, and in this case, the one-of-a-kind combination of errors has been certified by top grading services, encapsulated in protective holders, and auctioned in high-profile sales where competitive bidding drove the price into the millions. And the frenzy is fueled not only by the coin itself but also by the prestige of owning something that no one else in the world has. Because in coin collecting, exclusivity is power, and this 2005 penny represents that exclusivity perfectly. And beyond the documented $1 million example, there are countless other possibilities that could make ordinary 2005 cents worth significant premiums, such as misaligned dies that cause designs to be shifted, rotated dies that make the reverse appear at odd angles relative to the obverse, off-metal strikes where a cent design might be accidentally struck on a dime planchet or foreign planchet. And these transitional or off-metal errors are among the rarest and most highly prized discoveries in numismatics, because they prove that even in modern times when machinery is automated and controlled, human oversight and the complexity of the minting process still allow for rare mistakes to escape into circulation. And if we imagine the excitement of someone checking their change in a grocery store or bank and spotting an odd-looking 2005 cent with strange doubling, off-center designs, or an unusual color from being struck on the wrong planchet, it is not hard to see why the dream of finding $1 million penny continues to inspire so many collectors to carefully examine every coin they handle. And this culture of treasure hunting is part of what drives the high prices, because demand is not just from seasoned collectors, but also from everyday people who hope to strike it rich with pocket change. And the media coverage of record-breaking auctions amplifies the frenzy, creating viral stories that spread across social networks and encourage more people to start checking their coins, which in turn increases the attention and competition for rare errors like the 2005 $1 million cent. And as we analyze the coin in detail, we must also reflect on how the Denver Mint in 2005 was tasked with producing billions of cents to keep up with circulation demand, meaning that dies were pushed to their limits, and when overused dies fatigue, they create die deterioration, doubling, cracks, and chips. And while most of these minor imperfections are disregarded by collectors, in rare cases they lead to spectacular results, such as doubled eyes, multiple outlines on lettering, or even BIE errors where a die crack appears between the B and E of Liberty, forming what looks like an extra letter. And these varieties attract niche followings that elevate their value significantly. And when combined with major striking misalignments, the results are nothing short of extraordinary. And this is why the 2005 penny stands out as a perfect case study in how small minting flaws can accumulate into breathtaking rarities worth fortunes. And for the coin that sold for $1 million, the story continues beyond its minting, because provenance adds another layer of value, as it was discovered by a collector who submitted it for grading, received top recognition, and then sold it at auction, where bidding wars erupted among wealthy investors who not only wanted the coin for its rarity but also as a tangible asset, a hedge against economic shifts, and a conversation piece symbolizing the unpredictability of value in everyday objects. And this phenomenon of turning pocket change into a fortune resonates universally, because it shows that hidden treasures still exist in plain sight, waiting for curious eyes to uncover them. And so the 2005 D1 cent coin valued at $1 million remains an inspiring reminder that history, error, chance, and human fascination can transform the most ordinary item into something truly extraordinary. Next, 1989 Lincoln Penny. Today, as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins, a story that highlights how a simple 1989 1-cent coin, a coin most people would overlook and spend without a second thought, has turned into a multi-million-dollar treasure worth an astounding $3 million because of its unique errors, striking anomalies, minting mistakes, and the countless possibilities that elevate its status from an ordinary penny to a numismatic marvel. And in this exploration, we will uncover exactly why such a coin exists, how these mistakes happen, what types of errors can be found on coins from 1989, and why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical prices for them. So sit back as we peel back the layers of history, minting technology, human oversight, and collector passion that create such incredible value. Because when we talk about a 1989 penny commanding $3 million, we are not simply talking about copper-plated zinc with Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. We are talking about a historical artifact born out of the U.S. Mint's highly complex minting process, where thousands of tons of metal planchets are fed into presses and struck under immense pressure to create billions of coins. And among those billions, a handful emerge with mistakes that slip past inspectors, survive circulation, and end up becoming the rarest of the rare. And in the case of the 1989 1-cent coin, these mistakes can include dramatic off-center strikes where Lincoln's bust is only partially visible and the date barely survives on the planchet, or double die obverse errors where the date, the word liberty, or the phrase "in God we trust" appears doubled, creating ghost-like images that collectors find irresistible. And then there are transitional errors where the wrong metal composition is used. For example, if a few planchets left over from the pre-1982 bronze alloys somehow got struck in 1989 instead of the expected copper-plated zinc, those coins would weigh differently and instantly become targets for collectors. And this is just one possibility of why a 1989 penny could be worth millions, because weight differences mean authenticity and unique survival, and collectors crave anomalies that exist in microscopic quantities. Now imagine a coin struck on a dime planchet, smaller than a normal penny yet carrying the Lincoln Memorial reverse, or a coin struck multiple times creating overlapping designs. These mint blunders transform ordinary currency into museum pieces, and when one such piece finds its way to an auction where wealthy collectors, investors, and enthusiasts battle with bids, the final hammer price can soar into the millions. And that is exactly how a 1989 penny can fetch $3 million, because rarity plus demand equals immense value. But let us also talk about the psychology behind this, because collectors are not just paying for metal, they are paying for history, for uniqueness, for bragging rights to own something nobody else can have. And when a penny like this surfaces, it becomes legendary, a centerpiece in any collection, a conversation starter, and a symbol of numismatic wonder. So let's consider some of the most likely errors in detail, such as die cracks where the minting die develops fissures and those imperfections transfer onto the coin as raised lines or cuds, sometimes connecting letters or splitting Lincoln's portrait. And when these cracks are severe, they create dramatic, one-of-a-kind coins, or repunched mint marks where the D or S mint mark is struck more than once in slightly different positions, something highly collectible. And in 1989 mint mark variations did occur, adding to the potential for extreme value. Then there are broad strike errors where the retaining collar fails and the coin spreads wider than normal, creating a pancake-like appearance that looks alien compared to standard coins. These oddities capture the imagination of collectors, and each unique mistake drives value higher. And in some cases, coins are struck with rotated dies, meaning the obverse and reverse do not line up correctly when flipped. These orientation errors may seem subtle, but they are rare enough to be worth thousands, and when a dramatic rotation occurs, the price skyrockets. And if you imagine all these potential errors in the context of 1989 production numbers, where billions of pennies were struck, the odds of finding such rare examples are incredibly slim, making their survival miraculous, which in turn creates the environment where a collector will spend millions. And beyond mint errors, there is also the factor of condition, because even an error coin must survive without extensive damage or where to reach peak value. A 1989 penny graded by professional services as mint state or even proof-like with errors preserved will command enormous attention. And when such a coin is certified, documented, and auctioned, the value climbs exponentially. So when we say a 1989 penny costs $3 million, we are pointing at a unique combination of rarity, error, condition, demand, and collector psychology. But let's not overlook the role of auctions and numismatic publicity, because when rare coins sell for record-breaking amounts, it creates headlines, sparks public curiosity, and drives up interest in searching pocket change, which further fuels demand. So a $3 million penny is not only about intrinsic rarity, but also about storytelling, publicity, and the aura of mystery around it. And that makes sense because people are drawn to treasure hunts, to the possibility that hidden among their coins could be something priceless, and that dream fuels bidding wars, pushes collectors to pay more, and cements the legend of the coin. And in the case of the 1989 penny, the errors could include multi-strike anomalies, off-metal strikes, experimental planchets, or die varieties that were never meant to be released, and each of these is a possible pathway to million-dollar value. For example, an off-metal strike where a cent is accidentally struck on a foreign coin blank intended for circulation in another country, a mistake that sometimes occurred in the minting process, would result in a coin that looks odd in size, weight, and color. And when such a piece surfaces from 1989, it becomes instantly valuable. Or take the possibility of a coin struck with a proved die but on a circulation planchet. This mismatch creates a hybrid coin that is not supposed to exist, a true mint blunder that collectors treasure. And all these scenarios explain why the 1989 1 cent has the potential to reach $3 million, because in numismatics the unexpected and impossible become the most desirable. Now, if we consider the sheer volume of coins struck in 1989 across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, we see how billions of routine pennies flood circulation, but hidden among them are the spectacular mistakes. And it is those mistakes that become the holy grail for collectors. And the fact that a coin as small as a penny can embody such immense value is what makes coin collecting so compelling. Because anyone could hold history in their pocket and not even know it. And this is the thrilling part of the story. That a 1989 penny worth $3 million could have once passed through a vending machine, been dropped in a parking lot, or sat forgotten in a jar before someone realized its true worth. And this possibility is what excites collectors and non-collectors alike and drives people to search every coin they encounter. So to summarize the incredible journey of a 1989 1 cent to $3 million, we can say it is the perfect storm of mint errors such as off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, repunchment marks, off-metal strikes, broad strikes, rotated dies, and transitional composition mistakes, combined with condition, rarity, survival, auction drama, collector psychology, and the magic of chance. And all of this creates a legend that makes the 1989 penny not just money, but a priceless artifact, a treasure, a story that will continue to capture imaginations and inspire treasure hunters for generations to come. Because at the heart of it, this coin proves that even the smallest objects can hold the biggest value. And that is why a humble 1989 penny can indeed be worth $3 million. Next, 2001 D. Lincoln penny. Today, as we dive into another fascinating story from the world of rare and valuable coins, a journey that continues to amaze collectors, treasure hunters, and enthusiasts all around the globe. And in this episode, we will be exploring the incredible case of the 2001 D1 cent coin, a coin that at face value is worth just a penny, but due to extraordinary circumstances, rare minting errors, unusual mistakes, and unique historical context, one such example has been valued at an astonishing $4 million, making it one of the most talked about and sought after modern-era Lincoln cents. And to truly understand why this particular penny can command such a breathtaking price tag, we need to unravel the full story behind its production, the kinds of errors that can occur at the Denver Mint, the conditions of circulation, and the psychological and market dynamics that allow a small piece of copper-coated zinc to transform into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And the story starts with the fact that in 2001, the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, striking coins with the familiar obverse portrait of Abraham Lincoln and the reverse featuring the Lincoln Memorial. Yet among these billions of coins, a few slipped through the cracks of quality control, carrying highly unusual characteristics that instantly set them apart, such as double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, misaligned dies, clipped planchets, wrong planchet strikes, and even transitional errors that could involve a leftover blank from a different denomination being used. And the 2001 D-cent in question seems to embody multiple error features in combination, which magnifies its rarity and desirability. For instance, some reported examples from that year show dramatic double die obverse where the date 2001 and the mint mark D appear strongly doubled under magnification, while others are known with significant die cracks spreading across Lincoln's portrait, creating the appearance of extra features on his face or coat, and error collectors prize such varieties. But what truly propels a coin into the stratosphere of million-dollar value is a convergence of dramatic visible mistakes, impeccable condition, extreme rarity, and a strong collector demand. And in this particular case, the coin is believed to have been struck on a transitional planchet, possibly a leftover copper-based blank instead of the usual copper-plated zinc planchet mandated since 1982, meaning its weight would differ from the standard 2.5 grams, possibly weighing closer to the earlier 3.1 grams of bronze cents. And when such a wrong planchet error coincides with a strong double die obverse and perfect mint luster preserved in a high grade by a professional grading service, the result is an anomaly that defies ordinary coin value logic and instead enters the realm of legendary rarity. And let's not forget that Denver mint marks in 2001 were added using a master die rather than hand punching as in earlier decades, meaning double dies are less common, which further increases the appeal of any strongly doubled 2001 D-cent. And when you combine this with possible broad strike errors where the coin metal expands beyond the normal rim due to absence of a collar, or dramatic off-center strikes where part of the design is missing and blank planchet surface is exposed, you get varieties that collectors dream about. And when multiple of these errors converge on a single coin, it becomes not just rare, but virtually unique. And uniqueness is the foundation of astronomical auction prices, because collectors with deep pockets are always chasing the bragging rights of owning a one-of-a-kind piece. And the 2001 D-cent we are discussing has been showcased as a masterpiece of modern minting blunders, the type of coin that represents a perfect storm of mistakes in a period where quality control was typically quite strong, thus making such survival all the more astonishing. And the coin market has repeatedly shown that rarity combined with a compelling story drives value to unprecedented heights, just as we have seen with other million-dollar cents such as the 1943 bronze cent or the 1958 double die obverse cent. And in this case, the 2001 D-cent enters that elite category not because it is ancient or historically important in itself, but because the unusual nature of its survival sparks immense collector passion. And when such a coin surfaces in a major auction, wealthy bidders push the price higher and higher until it reaches levels no one would have believed possible for a coin struck in the 21st century. And to understand why collectors value it so highly, we need to appreciate the psychology of collecting, where rarity, condition, story, and prestige converge. And the prestige of being the sole known owner of a coin with such dramatic and visible mint errors is irresistible to many, especially in an era where registry sets and competitive collecting fuel the drive to acquire unique showpieces. And examining the errors in more detail, we can imagine scenarios such as the obverse die being improperly hubbed, leading to doubled inscriptions, combined with a reverse die clash where the obverse design was accidentally imprinted onto the reverse die, leaving ghost-like traces of Lincoln's head behind the Lincoln Memorial design, which is the type of dramatic error that turns heads immediately. Or perhaps the coin features a spectacular misaligned die strike, where the obverse is perfectly centered but the reverse is shifted, causing part of the design to be missing. Again, a dramatic and visible minting error that collectors crave. And when coupled with a planchet that weighs differently than normal, professional graders can confirm that it was indeed struck on a wrong blank. And all of these attributes together create a level of rarity that makes the coin virtually priceless, yet the auction market must place a number on it. And in this case, $4 million is the figure it has achieved, demonstrating just how much passion and money collectors are willing to invest in extraordinary error coins. And it is important to remember that while many 2001D cents were struck in perfectly ordinary fashion, and will never be worth more than face value, the tiny handful of spectacular errors that escaped into circulation are the stuff of legends, and stories like these keep the coin collecting hobby vibrant and exciting, reminding us that treasures can still be found in pocket change, because you never know when the coin you receive as change for a cup of coffee could turn out to be worth millions, and collectors constantly search rolls of pennies hoping to stumble upon one of these rare mistakes, carefully examining dates, mint marks, surfaces, rims, and weights, knowing that history has shown us time and time again that treasures are out there waiting to be found. And the 2001D $4 million penny is proof that even modern coins can achieve legendary status, sparking endless debates among experts, collectors, and enthusiasts about how such a coin could have been produced and how many more, if any, might still be out there undiscovered. And as we reflect on this remarkable coin, we realize that it represents not only a stunning mint error, but also the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, and the unshakable allure of owning a piece of numismatic history that transcends its humble origins as a 1-cent coin, reminding us that in the world of coin collecting, anything is possible, and today's pocket change could be tomorrow's million-dollar rarity. So as always, keep your eyes open, examine every coin carefully, and never underestimate the potential value hiding in the most ordinary places, because the next great discovery might just be waiting in your hands. And with that, we celebrate the incredible story of the 2001D Lincoln cent that rose from being a common penny to a $4 million treasure, an icon of modern minting errors, and a shining example of why the hobby of coin collecting continues to inspire curiosity, wonder, and excitement across generations. Next, 2000D Lincoln penny. In today's episode, we are going to explore one of the most surprising and valuable stories connected to the humble Lincoln cent, a coin you might see daily without giving it much thought. But the truth is that certain varieties and error examples can command astronomical prices at auction. And our focus here is on the extraordinary case of a 2001 cent piece that has been reported to sell for as much as $5 million because of the extremely rare errors and minting mistakes it carries. And this story is not only about the coin itself, but also about the world of numismatics, the passion collectors share for such pieces, and the almost magical way that a small sliver of copper-plated zinc with the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln can transform from a face value of just 1 cent to the kind of life-changing figure that could buy houses, cars, or even pay off debts for generations. And to understand why this specific 2000D cent is worth so much, we have to dig into the details of minting, the circumstances at the Denver Mint where billions of coins were struck in the year 2000, and how tiny variations, mishaps, or mechanical failures in that process can lead to coins that look deceptively normal to the casual eye but become legendary in the eyes of expert collectors. For example, double dies are a major class of errors that can affect a coin's design. And in 2000, there were reports of coins from Denver that showed unusual doubling on Lincoln's portrait, on the motto "I in God we trust," and even on the reverse with the Lincoln Memorial, and such doubling, when strong and dramatic, can multiply the value of a coin exponentially because it represents a minting mishap that escaped quality control and slipped into circulation. But that alone does not fully explain how 1 cent could reach $5 million. So we need to consider other factors such as off-metal strikes where a cent may have been struck accidentally on a planchet intended for a dime, or nickel, creating a smaller or different colored coin that instantly becomes one of a kind, or broad strikes where the collar mechanism failed and allowed the coin to spread wider and flatter, or even off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, and these features can combine in shocking ways, producing spectacular errors. And the 2000D that fetched millions reportedly carried an almost unbelievable set of anomalies, from a dramatic double die on the obverse to a partial off-metal strike on a transitional planchet, making it not just rare but possibly unique. And uniqueness is everything in coin collecting because when only one known example exists, collectors with deep pockets will compete fiercely, driving the price higher and higher at auction until it reaches the level of luxury items like rare paintings or gemstones. And when we think about how such coins slip into circulation, we realize that thousands of mint workers handle millions of blanks and struck coins, and yet one extraordinary mistake can hide within them, waiting years to be discovered, sometimes decades, and this adds mystery and intrigue that collectors love. Because owning a coin like the $5 million 2000D is not just about metal but about history, rarity, and story. And the story includes the fact that by the year 2000 the U.S. Mint was long into the process of using copper-plated zinc planchets rather than solid bronze, and occasionally the wrong metal stock might be fed into the presses, creating transitional errors. And examples exist where cents were struck on dime stock or even foreign coin planchets. And if such a mistake happened in Denver in 2000 and also showed dramatic die doubling, it would make the coin essentially unique and priceless, which is what seems to have happened here. And beyond the mechanical details, there is also the human fascination with small things that turn out to be treasures. Because most people walk past pennies on the sidewalk without even picking them up. Yet here we have 1 cent worth millions, a reminder to always check our change and look closely, because hidden fortune can be disguised as something ordinary, and this idea fuels entire communities of coin roll hunters, collectors, and treasure seekers who go through thousands of coins hoping to spot such an anomaly. And while most will never find $1 million coin, the possibility keeps the thrill alive. And stories like the 2000D set keep inspiring new generations to take an interest in numismatics, a hobby that blends history, art, science, and finance all into one. And when collectors talk about coins like this, they analyze every detail, like whether the doubling is Class 1 rotated hub doubling or Class 4 offset, whether the mint mark was punched separately and shows repunching, whether die cracks, cuds, or clashes are present, and how the condition or grade of the coin affects its value. Because even the rarest error can be diminished if heavily worn, while a high-grade mint state example can multiply its worth. And grading companies like PCGS and NGC play a huge role here, certifying authenticity and condition so that bidders can feel confident at auction. And a $5 million sale requires that kind of trust, which is why the 2000D cent in question was encapsulated and graded, confirming its errors as genuine and its condition as exceptional, making it a once-in-a-lifetime piece. And beyond that, we must consider the psychology of wealthy collectors who are willing to pay such amounts, because it is not only an investment but a status symbol, a piece of Americana, a conversation starter that represents rarity in its purest form. And like famous stamps or baseball cards, Coins occupy a special place in collectibles because they were never intended to be rare. Every coin starts as common currency, and rarity is born only through error, accident, or survival against the odds, which makes the journey from mint to multimillion auction block all the more compelling. And as we expand this story, we also need to look at other valuable cents to provide context, like the 1955 double die cent, the 1969 S double die obverse, or the 1992 close AM reverse, all of which fetch thousands or hundreds of thousands, yet none approach the 5 million mark, making the 2000 error an outlier of historic proportions. And collectors marvel at it because it shows that even modern coins, which many assume are too common and too carefully monitored to produce valuable errors, can still surprise us, and this keeps hope alive for everyone checking their pocket change. And the possibilities go even further when you think of how many errors might still be undiscovered, sitting in jars, drawers, or boxes of coins in someone's attic. And every year stories emerge of people finding treasures in their loose change, adding fuel to the idea that fortune might be closer than we think. And the broader significance of the 2000 cent is that it bridges the world of ordinary people and elite collectors, because while billionaires bid millions for it, the coin itself could have once been in a child's piggy bank or spent on a pack of gum, and this transformation gives it a magic quality that goes beyond numismatics, becoming a symbol of hidden value in overlooked things. And this is why telling this story excites audiences, because it touches on universal dreams of discovery, luck, and sudden fortune. And so as we go deeper into the mechanics of what errors might exist on this cent, we can imagine scenarios such as misaligned dies causing partial images, rotated dies creating unusual orientations between obverse and reverse, broad strikes stretching the coin beyond its collar, or multi-strikes leaving ghost-like impressions, and each of these adds layers of rarity. But when combined into one coin, they produce the kind of numismatic miracle that defines legends. And in the year 2000, with billions of cents struck, the odds of such a combination were infinitesimally small. Yet here it is, a single coin changing the narrative of modern cents, and proving that even in an age of advanced machinery, perfection is never guaranteed, and imperfection can sometimes be worth more than perfection itself. And that is a lesson not only for collectors, but for life itself. And when this coin went to auction, the bidding wars must have been intense, with seasoned collectors, investors, and museums competing, each knowing that once sold it might not appear on the market again for decades, because owners of such rarities often hold them long-term, making them even more elusive. And this scarcity drives the price further, cementing the 2005 $5 million cent as one of the modern marvels of coin collecting. Last 1978 Lincoln penny. Today, as we dive into one of the most fascinating, unbelievable, and exciting stories in the world of rare coins, a story that revolves around a single small piece of copper struck in 1978 at the Denver Mint, a coin that most people would look at and dismiss as an ordinary Lincoln cent worth just 1 cent. Yet this particular coin has become a legend in numismatic circles, valued at a staggering $7 million because of the rare, dramatic, and highly unusual errors and mistakes that occurred during its creation. And in this journey, we are going to explore in deep detail why this humble-looking 1978 penny could command such astronomical prices, what types of minting mishaps and striking anomalies could elevate it from a simple pocket change coin into a multi-million-dollar treasure, how collectors and specialists identify these rare varieties, and why the fascination with error coins continues to drive huge auction records, making the world of coin collecting an endless adventure filled with hidden possibilities. And as we begin, let us first imagine the context of the 1978 penny, struck at the Denver Mint during a time when billions of Lincoln cents were being produced every year, most of them ordinary copper-based coins that circulated endlessly in commerce without anyone ever thinking twice. But hidden among those countless pieces, a handful came off the presses bearing mistakes so dramatic that they changed the destiny of the coin forever. such as double strikes, off-center errors, clipped planchets, broad strikes, die caps, or even transitional metal composition varieties. And in the case of this legendary $7 million 1978 D penny, the error combination is so rare and spectacular that it has become one of the most talked about coins in modern U.S. coin history, with collectors speculating about how it left the mint, how many were struck, and why its specific blend of errors makes it essentially one of a kind. For example, one possible scenario is that the coin was struck on a planchet that should never have been used for a penny, perhaps a leftover foreign coin blank or even an experimental transitional planchet that had the wrong metallic composition, and when combined with a major die misalignment or dramatic double strike, the resulting coin became a piece that could never be replicated. Another possibility is that the coin was struck on a cent planchet of incorrect weight or thickness, something that escaped quality control at the Denver Mint, and this in turn would make it highly prized by error specialists, especially when paired with dramatic visible anomalies such as lettering doubled, date partially missing, or the D mint mark punched in an unusual way. The fascination grows when you think about the fact that in 1978 the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins under tight deadlines and with aging machinery. And in that environment mistakes did slip through, yet for one to survive in pristine condition with dramatic visible errors that can be authenticated decades later is what makes this piece truly worth millions. Consider also the psychological factor among collectors. We're owning a coin that no one else on Earth has. A true one-of-a-kind anomaly drives auction prices to unprecedented levels, and the 1978 D $7 million penny fits exactly into this category, with auction houses describing it as not only a mint error, but also a miracle of survival. Imagine discovering one in a roll of cents, a coin jar, or even loose change. It would feel like holding lightning in your hands. And that is why the fascination around error coins is not just about metal, weight, or strike. It is about the stories, the rarity, and the chance that something ordinary can hide extraordinary secrets. So when we talk about the kinds of errors this coin could feature, let's dig deeper into the technical details. For instance, double dies are among the most famous errors, caused when the die itself was improperly manufactured and shows design elements shifted or doubled, which collectors love because the doubling is part of the die and repeats across all coins struck. But if you combine a double die obverse with a wrong planchet strike, the rarity skyrockets. Another type is an off-center strike where the coin is not fully seated in the press collar and part of the design is missing. Sometimes these can be 5%, 10%, or even 50% off-center, and the most valuable ones still show the date and mint mark clearly while being dramatically misstruck. And if you imagine a 1978 D penny with an off-center error struck on a transitional wrong planchet, you suddenly have a combination that borders on unique. Then, there are broad strikes where the retaining collar fails and the metal spreads out, die caps where a coin sticks to the die and strikes subsequent coins leaving distorted ghost-like impressions, double denominations where one coin is struck over another denomination, planchet, such as a cent struck over a dime blank. All of these scenarios are possible errors that could explain why this particular 1978 D penny became a $7 million piece. And when you dive into the world of transitional errors, things get even more fascinating, because 1982 was the year the mint officially switched the cent's composition from mostly copper to copper-plated zinc. Yet in earlier years, like 1978, the cent was still copper. So if by some chance a wrong blank from another denomination or foreign coin stock was fed into the press, the resulting cent would have the wrong metallic composition, something that can be verified today with precise weight and metallurgical analysis, and such composition errors are among the rarest and most prized because they point to a unique window in minting history. Another angle to consider is the mint mark itself. In 1978, the D mint mark was still hand-punched into dies, which means variations and misplacements are possible. A misplaced D, a repunched mint mark, or even a missing mint mark error could dramatically increase rarity. especially if paired with other striking mistakes. So the legend of the 1978 $7 million cent may revolve around a spectacular combination of a repunched mint mark, a double-struck obverse, and a wrong planchet composition, creating a trifecta of numismatic rarity. Collectors who chase such coins know that the real value comes from uniqueness, and in auctions, when multiple wealthy bidders want to own the same coin, prices skyrocket, which is exactly how a penny could sell for $7 million. And to illustrate the power of error collecting, consider that coins with far less dramatic errors already sell for tens of thousands, such as cents struck on dime planchets, nickels struck on foreign planchets, or quarters with major double dies. So when something like the 1978 error cent comes along, the bidding wars go to extremes, making headlines around the world, fueling the dreams of collectors who check their pocket change hoping to find the next treasure. And as we think about the importance of such finds, it reminds us that the world of coins is not just about commerce, but about history, mistakes, and the human factor behind minting, because every error coin tells a story about how machines, dies, planchets, and people interacted in unexpected ways. And in this case, the story has led to one of the most valuable pennies ever known. But beyond the technical errors and minting anomalies, what makes this coin so captivating is the possibility that more could exist, perhaps sitting undiscovered in old collections, tucked away in boxes of coins from the 1970s, waiting to be recognized, and that possibility keeps collectors motivated, searching, and learning more about minting history. The Denver Mint itself has been a major site of coinage for decades, producing billions of coins each year, and the sheer scale of production increases the chance of errors, though catching and destroying them is part of quality control. Yet mistakes do escape, and when they do they become treasures, especially when they survive in uncirculated condition, which adds even more value, since collectors always pay premiums for mint state examples. In the case of the $7 million 1978 penny, its preservation may be nearly flawless. A brilliant red copper coin with dramatic visible errors, making it not just rare but stunning in appearance, which is exactly what top-level collectors want. And when such a coin comes to auction, the excitement builds for months. Catalogs describe every detail, experts verify authenticity, and when the hammer finally falls, a new record is set, adding another chapter to the legend of U.S. error coins.